All right, Michael, open your eyes. What are your immediate first impressions for the Warthog?
Not my thing.
Ibra, open your eyes. What are your first impressions for the Warthog?
I like it.
Hey.
I like the black one over the other one.
Good people, the new Warthog from Corsair is not as polarizing as I thought it might be. Seems like everyone who we speak to and everybody who sees these new enclosures seems to really like the direction the Corsair is taking. And I do too. Color-wise, we're looking at green, or what they call olive drab. Olive drab or dab? You don't do the dab with the green. And we also have the black. Right now, these are the only two color options, and I do appreciate the contrast that is created for these exterior rugged panels that are all steel. They're trying to minimize on plastic, and I think they've done a really good job trying to implement this Y cross pattern on their metal mesh. That is this iconic Corsair. It's one of my favorite patterns on the enclosures right now. And this sort of like smooth texture on the steel, I would have loved to see a bit more rougher, more textured approach to the colored panels here. But it does look really good on the black one as well. And the little tab here for our front door in red. It is removable, but it does add that little cool accents. I hope that, I wish that this was continued on through other sections. But the Warthog is based on the frame 4000 series on the interior, but all the exterior skin and the rugged panels are new. I really like the green. Yeah, the green is awesome. And the fact that everything is screwed on to the panels with these giant screws, nothing is riveted, or at least from what I can see in terms of trying to remove certain panels, means it's going to be quite friendly for modding. And apparently I'm really good at spray painting. So hopefully once I get my samples, I'll have a few to play around with in terms of trying to customize the colorways. And this is something that you can also think about as well for the enclosure. Now, there are a few things that we want to mention. Number one is that we have this really nice swivel door that reveals this giant dust filter that is nicely flush to the case. It's the high performance kind. And we have two massive 200mm fans. This is interesting because these are the first 200mm fans that we're seeing from Corsair. And as I was talking to Mitch, the designer behind the case supports 200mm fans, and they just wanted to finally include them because that is the allowed potential. It does sit on the Infinity Rail design system, so if you potentially don't want to use 200mm fans, because the Warthog will come in fan configuration for $199 or no fans at all for $169. For the no fan version, if you go in the RGB route, that makes more sense. But of course, I think for this type of compact mid-tower, the all black fans, especially with this 200mm fans that will, I think they give us about 138 CFM. They spin at 1000 RPM, so they should be nice and quiet and deliver an insane amount of airflow. Now, Corsair did a really good job with some of the details on the rugged front. So here we have the finger protectors, we have the flip to reset switch. So I was wondering, like, where's my fidget spinner? And this is going to be it. We have this remove before build little, what are these called? Like a keychain, but this is just covering our USB-C port. And they were even thinking of trying to do something more insane, of like having this as a key that you have to turn in order to activate some of the switches, but that would just add way too much to the cost. And I do like this design, and hopefully this whole module is going to be kind of replaceable for something a little bit more complex, but the price point just doesn't allow that to happen at launch. And we do have this interesting light button in between. And what that does is illuminate the backside I/O. So if this case is facing the wall and trying to change out the USB port, you can actually see what you're doing. Some other minor design choices here. We have the Warthog with 01. The numerical numbers would indicate the color choice. So right now the green one is 01. We have some text over here on the side, including some, let's say, these service panel. We have the Corsair on top of the panel. The Warthog is going to be the homage for the original C70 that had that rugged design, including different colorways aside from black that went into that military zone. And that's kind of what they're trying to do here with the Warthog as well. We have truly functional handles that allows you to lift the enclosure, and I do appreciate this symmetrical design for the feet at the same time. The plastic tab for the top panel on the original frame 4000 has been now upgraded with the Warthog with ballistic nylon, so it's way stronger and allows you to basically pull out. Hold on a second. Why isn't it pulling out? Oh, right. The top panel, it also is where our little pegs sit for the side panel. So yeah, you have to remove the side panels first before removing the top panel, which, by the way, is a little difficult to do. And you can no longer install the side panels when the top panel is off. Not a big deal. But another thing is that the top panel has no dust filter. Just an FYI. I don't mind the shape cutout for our side panel. This is glass. You can see here, just a square piece right behind there. As for the interior, because this is based on the Frame 4000 series, we still have the Infinity Rail system, both from the top and the front. We do have now an upgraded motherboard tray. This is the Rapid Root 2.0, which allows you to install the plastic clips anywhere you want for cable management with installation of an SSD bracket, which is great. They have refined the power supply shroud as well to be slightly different on the Warthog. So it kind of looks very much the same like with the others, but now has a slight dip on like cutout over here in the front, so you can still install a fan at the bottom without interfering with our power supply shroud. One interesting redesign for the thumb screws for our PCI brackets is that they have additional extended housing, so it's going to catch in the thumb screw in your screwdriver much better. You can also use these for motherboard installation, which would look quite nice in terms of like, you know, the thumb screws are sticking out slightly. And they've also done a new GPU holder. It's slightly shorter than before, so it doesn't extend all the way towards the GPU, and it just holds the corner of your graphics card in this section here. The back panel here does have similar design ID to what we see on the glass panel. And overall, I feel like the Warthog is kind of rugged, very military focused slash sci-fi direction. I think the colorways and the future implementations of different paneling will define what it looks like. Overall, I think they've done a good job with the design ID, but you know, as we go over the cases, we're starting to kind of realize what would have been nice to have at the same time. For example, we have a lot of these removable screws that are accessible to you. So of course, they're included like 10 different accent screws to complement either the green or the black or the red little knob here to just let you customize a little bit more on the Warthog. That would have been great. Like if some of these finger guards were also colored in, I think that might come in later, especially because their 3D printable like branch of Corsair is quite active. And I'm hoping that there's gonna be like way more stuff that are going to be added there so that you can just kind of customize the Warthog to your liking. Now, $199 might seem like a lot, especially because the Frame 4000, you know, starts off at like, you know, $95, goes up to $120, $25, depending on the RGB model. So if you think about all the ruggedness and all the plating on the exterior, that's like almost $100 premium on top of the frame configuration. So if you like the frame series, there are cheaper alternatives, of course, but the Warthog, I feel like just because it adds so much newness into the space from what the C70 was trying to deliver. I don't know, I kind of feel like it might be fair, but let me know what you think. Also, Corsair is doing this thing where they're coloring the interior of the boxes. We've seen from Fractal Design, and I like this direction, giving us a little bit more spice during the unboxing experience. And of course, this little camouflage pattern works with the Warthog theme so well. With all the fish tank copycats, I think people are going to want to have something fresh and new in their space. And the Frame 4000 is a really good starting point in terms of like the interior modifications, all the different modules that might be possible in the future. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. And I think there's some cooling stuff from Michael coming up.
Okay, so moving on to all-in-one liquid coolers. And as some of you should know, the Corsair Nautilus RS series is actually one of the best price to performance AIOs that we've ever tested. What we didn't test though is their flagship all-in-one liquid coolers. And luckily we didn't, because Corsair is now going to be thoroughly revising their top-end lineup. So what I wanted to talk about here is the Titan II Ultra LCD AIO. That's like the longest AIO name that I've come across. But anyways, there's a number of reasons why this thing is so unique. So first of all, they have moved on to a 40mm thick radiator. This isn't only a dual chamber radiator, it's also a cross flow radiator. So let me explain to you what that means. So you mount your fans here, and on this side of the radiator, there's a little bit higher fin density. I believe this one is 14 fins per inch, while on the other side, it's only 12 fins per inch. So what this allows is Corsair's fans to work a little bit less hard than they normally would if they were mounted on a standard, very, very thick radiator. Basically, what you would get is a little bit less back pressure onto those fans, so they're able to push air through this radiator, through the very, very dense fin stack, and then have a little bit of an easier time with the larger gaps in between the fins on the other side. Something else that they've done here is, well, they've actually modified their high-end fans. So this is the LX series fans. Unfortunately, they're probably going to be discontinuing their high-end RS Max series, which was a little bit thicker, provide a lot more airflow and a lot more static pressure. But anyways, these fans here are still static pressure optimized for this setup. And of course, they have RGB. Now I talked to Corsair about maybe releasing something that doesn't have the LCD, that doesn't have the RGB fans, maybe something a little bit more stealth. That isn't in the plan right now because they believe that the high end right now is tied to LCDs, high-end cooling for higher end processors. The people sort of want that bling, I guess you would say. The other thing that's been done is they've thoroughly revised their mounting system. So gone is the non-AMD offset. We're looking now at an AMD offset, and something else that's interesting here, they also have pre-applied what they call the XTM 100 thermal sheet. Now, yes, this is pre-applied here, but this is actually a semi-liquid metal TIM. Now this is going to be pre-applied and Corsair isn't going to be supplying you with a second sheet, but another one will be sold separately in case you have to like remount your cooler or something else. One thing that I'm not too crazy about is even though they're using their IQ Link ecosystem, well, everything is connected via DisplayPort, not USB and not HDMI like some of the other systems like this are doing. I'm not a big fan of this because this is seen as sort of like a dual monitor setup within Windows, and Windows historically has issues with dual monitor setups, especially when it comes to AIO screens. We've seen that before with something like the Antec Vortex View, or even with the MSI Lightning GPU. When you're using your system, it comes up as a second monitor and your mouse just goes foop, right over onto that second monitor while you're playing a darn game. Now, Corsair within their IQ ecosystem will probably be putting sort of like a little checkbox to make sure that the mouse is constrained to the primary screen and doesn't go wandering and meandering off onto the LCD on the AIO. But we're gonna have to see if that actually gets implemented in time for release. Crossing my fingers, guys, please do it. The last thing I wanted to talk about is just about this LCD. And to me, it does look really, really good. You might not agree with LCD screens on AIOs, and that's perfectly fine. Corsair has a whole other lineup of AIOs if you want to spend less money, have less bling, and not compromise on performance. But this thing is a 5-inch 720p LCD, and to me, it is probably one of the best that we've seen. Even the Vortex View that had that little semi-smartphone thing on the top, to me, this looks a lot better integrated. You can take this off. It can be mounted vertically. It can be mounted horizontally. That's completely up to you. Something else that I just noticed is that there's a small integrated fan underneath, which allows you to cool the components around the CPU socket area. Price for this, we're looking at $300, which to me, for everything you get here, is about the going rate in the market today. I mean, look at the new Noctua AIOs. They're going for about that without the LCD screen and everything else. So that's about where we're going to be. The last thing I want to talk about very quickly is the HX 1000i Crystal Edition. It's a Crystal Edition because guess what? You can see inside of the power supply. Pretty cool. They've gone with white PCBs. They've gone through the trouble of actually sleeving the capacitors to have them in white. The only problem I see with this, right, is this is, first of all, not a lot of cases are allowing you to see your power supply right now. On the other hand, the Corsair Frame series does allow you to remove the power supply shroud. But the main problem here is probably going to be dust over time. Yes, there are always dust filters over that incoming air into your power supply, but they are not infallible. There is still going to be some dust penetration. So I'm just wondering what this beautiful setup is going to look like when there's a little bit of dust in it. And cleaning this thing, I mean, you don't want to open up a power supply to clean it, right? So I mean, we're just going to have to see exactly where that goes. It's going to be interesting, more of like a long-term tester. So anyways, look, with all of these things, I'm Mike with Hardware Canucks. Thank you very much to Corsair for hosting us here, and I will see you guys in the next one.